Leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. My name is Edmond, the host. Tonight on Spectrum, what is the outcome of the emergency cabinet meeting called to discuss the current economic crisis? Other decisions
taken right into the situation. President Yoweri Museveni called an emergency cabinet meeting today to discuss the current financial crisis in the country, worsened by high inflation rate, high fuel and other commodity prices, scarcity of some essential goods, and threats of hunger in some parts of the country. The decision to call an emergency cabinet meeting over the state of the economy came as a surprise to many, given the fact that in the recent past the president was firm in his view that the Ugandan economy will remain robust in the same manner it persevered during the global credit crunch. At this point, some essential commodities like sugar have begun to be rationed, and the Ugandan government has asked the East African community to allow it to import sugar from other countries as the country awaits the return to operation of two factories that have closed down for routine maintenance and cleaning. The price of a bag of sugar has increased from 125,000 shillings to around 250,000 shillings. A kilo of sugar now stands at around 6,000 shillings on average. Disturbing, though, are reports that some people are holding sugar, hoping to profit here. On the currency side, the central bank has also failed to deal with the inflation and a depreciating shilling, making the situation worse. Exports have declined rapidly, while imports are on the rise, giving the country a poor balance of trade given the little foreign currency. From the onset, it's clear that there's a need for a paradigm shift, not only in government, but also with the private sector, if the country is to get out of the current doldrums. So tonight we'll look at some of those key decisions taken by the emergency cabinet meeting to see if at all they might help in dealing with the current situation. We'll also use this platform to make some proposals to government. We're waiting to hear from Entebbe, but in the meantime we're going to discuss the dynamics of this economy at the moment and the crisis that this country is facing, the economic crisis, even though denied by some officials. Our guests tonight, Mr. Everest Kayondo, Chairman of Kampala City Traders Association. We most welcome Mr. Kayondo.
Thank you very much, and I greet all the listeners. Thank them for listening to Spectrum.
We also have Mr. Michael Wakabi, the Uganda Bureau Chief for the East African newspaper. You're most welcome, Mr. Wakabi.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners.
We expect to be joined by Mr. Kintu, Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President. You'll also be able to call him later. Michael, let me start with you, Mr. Wakabi. How did we get here?
Well, I think this is a culmination of years of discipline. Politicians may want to avoid, but I think we have had a lot of very discipline experience. The cost of public administration has risen sharply for that first decade. Spending is not well prioritized, so it's not surprising that we are where we are. The productive side of the economy has not received the attention it should have in terms of allocation of resources and stimulating production in key sectors. That's about it.
Well, let's talk about, I would like you to talk to us about what the government says. But first of all, when you talk about the other side, the supply, what they normally call the supply side, some sectors are not getting the right attention. Which sectors are we talking about?
I think we needed to stimulate the economy, create incentives that would allow us to transition from export of primary commodities to processed commodity, agro-processing. Right now, our exports are still raw, despite decades of talking about industrialization of the economy. The result is that you are heavily dependent on the vagaries of nature. For instance, right now, we should be exporting more. We should be earning more export revenue because the shilling is very cheap. but you have nothing to export because you just imagine from a long drought. The gestation period of agricultural production means that even this opportunity, even if later we were to get a good harvest, circumstances might have changed that may not make the most of this. So, like you said in the beginning, I think we need a paradigm shift. We have also spent too much time on politics. Inputs of alternative thought have largely been interpreted in terms of the politics of the day, meaning that alternative views don't get the accommodation or attention that they should. So you have some element of single-mindedness and monolithic thinking.
All right, of course the government will say, they'll cite exogenous factors, they'll say there's been a drought, they'll quote which has caused food prices to go up. They'll quote the MENA crisis, the Middle East and North Africa crisis, which has pushed up oil prices. They'll quote the Eurozone crisis, which raised demand for the dollar. What would you say to that?
Well, those are valid, but I think they also need to talk about what we will do internally, what we need to do internally. What are we doing about fiscal discipline? What are we doing about making sure that we live within our means? What are we doing about to ensure that expenditure goes to those areas that mitigate the crisis rather than worsen it?
Mr. Kayondo, what's your analysis? What's your diagnosis at this point?
Yeah, I concur with the first presenter, and definitely the discipline has not been so good. You look at the way we split the districts left and right. I think they are not helping in the expenditure side, and they are not actually productive at all. So I think we need to reduce on consumerism and increase on production. And when we are stimulating the economy, we need to stimulate those areas of production which can bring more production at play, other than maybe some, because these populist maybe decisions may not very much help the economy. Like the splitting of the districts actually doesn't help at all. It creates another outlet of expenditure. Create more parliamentarians. In countries like South Africa, parliamentarians are not supposed to decide on their enumerations. They have a separate committee of non-parliamentarians who decide on their enumerations. So here you are the beneficiary, and you decide how much you are supposed to be having. And when you look at the inflation, some components which have escalated, actually the food area. And if you look at the discipline which we have tried to do, we have remained the peasant farmers, and for sure we are using the hoe, and there are no granaries. These granaries used to exist in 1960s, they are no more. And you could, because disaster preparedness would mean that we are prepared for the disaster. And when we have a bumper harvest, we should have these granaries helping us, so that everything that is produced is not powered on the market. And when you look at the extension workers, you go to these agricultural colleges, they are no more, they are extinct almost. And you can't boost, you can't modernize agriculture when actually you don't have these extension workers who are practicing. Because when you go to Bucharest, even the practicals are done on private farms at Entebbe, and they will do it at the end of the examination. And these actually are not benefiting the farmer himself at the end of the day, because they will not have got the actual knowledge, which is very essential. So I think this is a very big problem, and we need to address it. Irrigation Look at the way we are waiting for the rains. Uganda is 20% water body and the fresh water at that. And we just wait for the rains to come. Just look at Egypt. River Nile just passes through Uganda, and at the end of the day you go to Egypt. Recently we had Egyptians who wanted to export foodstuffs from Egypt to bring them to Uganda. It is an abuse, but that is a fact. So we need to address some of these issues, and we shouldn't have that short-termism in our planning. We should at least look and be more focused at strategies which can boost the economy, because already we are calling ourselves a food basket. Yes. But on the practical part of it, if we are going to wait for the natural rains, if we are putting all what produce on the market and can't keep anything in the granaries, I think
we are not a food basket.
We can't be a food basket, and if we are, then we are not a reliable food basket.
Well, listeners, we've just been joined by Mr. Kintu, Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary. Well, President, you're most welcome, Mr. Nyago.
Thank you, Edmond.
What has the cabinet decided?
Well, cabinet meetings are usually confidential, but they are still
What did they start with? You can take us through it in the morning, at lunchtime.
As I've mentioned, they're confidential, but we can discuss the issues of the economy freely.
All right, the topic tonight then is the current economic crisis. How can we really get out? So, Mr. Nyago, how do you diagnose this problem? How did we get here?
To begin with, we are fortunate that we have able leaders in place, because it's really a global problem. I mean, in America, they have got a terrible debt crisis, and the only thing that's making them to survive, I mean, American economy is quite strong, it's the strongest in the world, but they have a terrible debt crisis nonetheless, and the only thing that's making them survive to a large extent is because they own the dollar. So we subsidize the economy.
The rest of the world.
Oh yes. They produce the dollar, and then the inflation becomes global. So, but I mean, it's a problem that they are trying to solve. Greece, Italy, and many other countries, or regionally, you find that similar problems are existing, and it's not because these countries had elections this year, or because they bought weapons of self-protection, whatever it is. It's a global problem. But as I've said, I think we are fortunate that we have an able leadership with a good understanding of the economy. Because look, the Ugandan economy, for example, let's take some indicators. In 1986, we were producing 60 megawatts of electricity.
That's true.
60.
Yes.
At independence, it was 120, all falls down. But because of problems, mismanagement, in 1986, when the population had increased and everything, 60 megawatts.
Yes.
But now we produce 600.
Well, thereabouts.
Oh yes.
Actual output is much less, about 300, but 340. But let's take it. Installed capacity 596. Okay.
And then also, I mean, efforts are in place to increase. I mean, Jagad is going to increase by, I think, 50 megawatts this October.
Yes.
And then another
200,
300 or 200, yes, by mid next year. Then Karuba is being funded, and all these are being funded by our own money. Then you find that roads, the construction of roads, I mean, Ugandans who are listening to me can see what I'm talking about. These are not just my imagination, my own concoctions. Roads are being constructed countrywide. Now, many of these things did exist in the 86. The economy collapsed, literally. That was never the case in Egypt or any of these countries, most of them around us, apart from a few, like say Rwanda, because we had similar very acute problems. But the economy had collapsed in 86. By 86, we had no economy or state for that matter. I mean, these are very serious problems.
But 25 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's some time ago. So that's a very serious, that's where we're starting from.
Oh, but 25 years is a long time.
And a lot has been done. From 60 to 600. Roads to be constructed. And also to find that we can export regionally. Because in the past, Mr. Kayondo is about my age, he remembers very well, he's from Masaka, and he knows very well that coffee from Masaka used to be, when the boom days, it was just exported elsewhere. And Kenya and Rwanda became leading producers of coffee.
True.
We're also smuggling, not export, but smuggling coffee Tanzania, to Tanzania, Rwanda, and so forth, and these became big exporters. But as we speak now, Uganda is a country of exporters. I mean, we were in Rwanda recently, and I was told that last financial year we exported to Rwanda goods worth, documented goods, $200 million.
Yes, almost the same as South Sudan.
Sudan is slightly more. Kenya is I'm sure more.
Sudan is about 180 million.
And then, I mean, well, thereabout, or and then Eastern DRC and so forth. But these are things that never used to happen in the past.
Yes.
So, if we are also to become, to get out of, because look, this is also an opportunity to our economy. Because if we talk about food being a problem and so forth, we are basically an agriculture economy. So most Ugandans can benefit from this situation, and they are benefiting from this situation. For sure, I mean, there are problems. There's a drought, and the drought is not a creation of Museveni. I mean, as you must have followed, there's a drought in Somalia, Kenya, and so forth, in the IGAD and so forth region. And by the way, in the program of the president and the NRM, there is, in the manifesto, it has been documented, it has been put in place that there will be funding irrigation.
Yes.
But you can't fund irrigation without an economy.
You have to rebuild it first.
Exactly, you must have the foundations in place.
Okay, Mr. Nyalo,
But then, this manifesto was not written amidst this crisis.
yes.
It was written possibly 2 years ago, before this drought. So you can't say it is. What I'm saying is, he didn't say this, but what I'm saying is that these are things that have been thought about.
Yes.
But I mean, these are things that you can only afford after the basics have been put in place.
All right. The foundation has been. Let's look at some of the points.
Now, some other thing is this. People like Kasita are doing a very good job, earning an income and so forth. But I think also to value add vis-a-vis their content, it's worthy for them to become producers and exporters. It's not bad to import.
Yes.
But I think if Kasita, given that they have got the skills of being entrepreneurs, and they have got the capital, and they can manage business entities, I think they should also become producers, not just to import things from Dubai or whatever, but they should also become producers and exporters. That would value add to our economy.
That will be.
And so,
This crisis. Listen, let's look at some of the issues that have been raised. 7 points that have been listed. 1, government, that this gentleman raised. 1, they said government indiscipline has contributed to this. 2, bad priorities. 3, the supply side is not getting good attention. 4, they say there's too much politicking. 5, monolithic thinking. 6, populist decisions. And 7, short-termism.
monolithic. Okay, you said what you meant.
Number 1, they said government indiscipline.
Yes.
We spend as though we're rich men, and yet we're still poor. Bad priorities. Jets when people are eating termites. 3, supply side is not getting priority. Agriculture production is not being prioritized. It's more raw materials. Too much politicking. Spent a lot of money in elections last year, this year. Monolithic thinking. We don't accept views from other places. Number 6, populist decisions. Give answers for the day. If the children are hungry, there's no food at home, you buy them donuts, and then there's a problem. Short-termism.
Okay, now I would not say that. I would not say that there's no merit in what they have said, but I may look at some of the things differently. For example, let's talk about the starting point is this: we just had elections in February, and Mr. Museveni got 70%.
Yes.
So most Ugandans think he's doing a good job. That's important. Had it been that it's at the end of this tenure, then you could say that possibly there's illegitimacy and so forth. So this is a highly legitimate government, whereby they got, the political government, he got 70%. And by the way, he got 70% not within a context of lack of options.
Yes.
There were 8 other or 7 other candidates, many of whom got less than 1%. In fact, the majority of them.
So the politics is okay. How about government in this place?
So
They didn't have the capacity to support.
you could,
that's
his interpretation to which he's entitled. Unfortunately, being a democracy, you can go and sleep with it.
Right.
You can go and sleep with it. I mean, democracy is
We assume President Museveni wants 71%.
So now that said, I mean, go to Kenya, whatever. Do they just go to parliament without spending money on in America? So that said, regarding this, I'll just take the issue of, say, you mentioned the thing of decentralization.
Yes.
What do you think that's very healthy? Because local governments are living entities. You can't say that simply because you've got, say, 50 districts in 1960, for example, that even in the year, say, 20 years, 30 years later, the same thing will occur. Even in America, these people cannot get
Gerrymandering.
their unit organized wrong. No, that's not the point. Even in America, local governments are living organisms. For example, in California, the municipalities in California that are there today are not the same that were there in the gold rush. There are more municipalities now in California. There may be 50 states, fine, but there are more municipalities created because of population growth.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll be back and then you can answer the other question. This is Spectrum. Don't stay tuned.
Let's talk about the home of your dreams and how you plan to finance it. Let's discuss money, location, and time frames, and whether you plan to build it or purchase it or renovate it. Let's make it possible for you to get started now so that you get into your own home sooner rather than later. Let's enable you to borrow against your house so that you expand and meet all your financial needs. Let's offer you a Stanbic Bank home loan. To find out if you qualify for a home loan, ask at any Stanbic Bank branch today. Stanbic Bank, moving forward.
3 times a year, every year for the past 6 years, I have been stressed going to pay school fees. I've woken up at the crack of dawn, taken 2 taxis, and a board finally arrived, filled out the forms. I have lined up between a guy with kavubuka and a guy with a nasty cough. And I've waited and waited, but no more now. I have moved on with MTN mobile money. So now I pay school fees directly from my mobile while I spend time with my children.
When you move on with MTN mobile money, your children can move on to greater things. And now everyone can pay school fees with MTN mobile money. So be one of the 100 people to win 100,000 shillings towards your next school shopping when you pay school fees with MTN mobile money.
MTN, everywhere you go. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 is brought to you by Stanbic Bank.
Welcome back to Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, the current economic crisis, how can we get out? Our guests tonight, Mr. Everest Kayondo, Chairman of Kampala City Traders Association, Okasita, and Mr. Michael Wakabi, Uganda Bureau Chief for the East African newspaper, and Mr. Kintu Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President. You'll be able to contribute to this discussion. Mr. Nyago, you are still responding to some of
Yeah, sure. I mean, decentralization is doing us a very good favor. Not just favor, but very good service.
Right.
Because even even the creation of those jobs, I mean, who is going to create those jobs? Obama? It is us to create the jobs there, because each district, for example, gives 200 former jobs, in addition to thousands of others which are not casual laborers.
So there's no government discipline?
Not at all. And management moves closer to the people. And by the way, that's the reason as to why it has contributed greatly to stability. Many of these countries that are very unstable, like Sudan, for example, or Libya, it's because of highly centralized structures. It's not rocket science. I mean, people don't appreciate why there's major crises in those countries. Because of highly centralized structures. Everything is done in Khartoum or Tripoli.
Right.
But here you give power to the people, and all this development you see down there at the grassroots, it's because of the empowerment these people have got.
Okay. Let's move forward. Mr. Wakabi, how can we get out of this crisis? Some solutions.
I think some things are being done right. If you look at the action of the central bank in terms of trying to pull the brakes on the economy, slow down consumption, mop up excess liquidity, those are the correct actions. But they are going to need, everything is central to government behavior. If the government is going to go out of its way tomorrow because teachers are agitating for a pay raise and succumb to that and release more money into the economy, it's going to undermine all these measures. Actually, we are in a very delicate situation. If this continues, the interplay of inflation is now 18%, and a very, very weakened shilling, that's not working by generating export revenues, and an economy that's 70% dominated by casita
Traders.
Yeah, so 70% of the economy is